John Kerry sounds a positive note about the future of his climate bill, but one key Republican senator still has her doubts. President Obama pushes for a clean energy economy as he tours a wind turbine blade factory. And the oil rig disaster off the coast of Louisiana has some lawmakers reconsidering offshore drilling.
From the Energy News Center in Washington, D.C., this is the Energy Report with Susan McGinnis.
Good afternoon, I'm Susan McGinnis. Thanks for joining us for the Energy Report. After meeting with his Senate co-authors, John Kerry now says the KGL climate bill is still very much alive. Monday's planned rollout for the legislation was scrapped by Lindsey Graham. The bill's only Republican author pulled his support to protest what he says are Senate Democrats' plans to tackle an immigration bill before the climate bill. Yesterday, Graham, Kerry, and Lieberman met to discuss the path ahead for their legislation. Afterward, Kerry sounded characteristically optimistic despite the latest delay. In a statement, he said, "I had a lot of conversations yesterday and today with key folks. I heard from all of them this weekend saying to us, don't give up. Keep this moving forward." He continued, "Don't get too caught up in the inside the Beltway parlor game of declaring reform efforts dead. We are still pushing, we're still talking, we're still fighting. It's still very much alive." But other senators don't know if the bill is even ready yet.
Well, we still haven't seen the bill that Senators Kerry, Lieberman, and Graham have been working on. As you know, they were supposed to release it yesterday and have indefinitely postponed it. So until we see an actual bill and are able to compare the features of that bill with our approach, it's very difficult. It's impossible for me to render a judgment.
Even without a publicly released bill, John Kerry says EPA will begin its analysis on the climate legislation. Today, Kerry said, "We are sending the bill to be modeled now with Lindsey Graham's consent. The agency's analysis should take about a month. Senate floor debate on the bill won't happen until that evaluation is complete." President Obama is making his pitch for a clean energy economy to Midwesterners today. The president visited a Siemens wind turbine plant in Fort Madison, Iowa today, promising his economic efforts will eventually pay off for struggling residents in this region. Obama defended the stimulus package signed into law last year with tax incentives that help the turbine plant. He says wind power is not a magic bullet, but it is part of a strategy to build an economy based on clean energy.
I believe that we can come together around this issue and pass comprehensive energy and climate legislation that will ignite new industries, spark new jobs in towns just like Fort Madison, make America more energy independent. Our security, our economy, the future of our planet all depend on it. This is what's possible in a clean energy economy.
And the president's Main Street tour continues tomorrow with a visit to a Poet biofuel refinery in Macon, Missouri. The Senate is looking into the nation's deadliest mining accident in 40 years and the possible need for new regulations. Some lawmakers have said new rules are needed after 29 miners were killed this month in an explosion at Massey Energy's Upper Big Branch mine in West Virginia. But the leading mining industry trade group says the federal government already has all the tools it needs. In his prepared testimony, National Mining Association spokesman Bruce Watsman said the Mine Safety and Health Administration should use its existing authority to close mining operations for imminent danger or ask federal judges to shut down problem mines. MSHA Chief Joe Main is expected to tell lawmakers how his agency can strengthen enforcement against habitually unsafe mines. Massey CEO Don Blankenship is not on the witness list, but his company has defended its safety record. Florida Governor Charlie Crist says last week's oil rig disaster in the Gulf of Mexico has him rethinking whether drilling off of his state's coast is a good idea. Crist said today something is wrong if the explosion doesn't give people pause. He says he's willing to listen as long as drilling is far enough offshore, clean enough, and safe enough to protect the state's beaches. Meantime, an oil slick the size of Rhode Island continues to spread north, now endangering hundreds of miles of coastline in 4 states. The sunken Deepwater Horizon is now spewing an estimated 42,000 gallons of crude oil a day from 2 leaks in a drilling pipe 5,000 feet below the surface. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal is asking for federal help to protect a 115,000-acre nature preserve near the mouth of the Mississippi River. State geologist John Lopez says sensitive coastal wildlife habitats are endangered, with oil reaching the area as early as this weekend.
Certainly with waterfowl, oiled birds, the rate of recovery, even with the best efforts, is not good. I believe it's probably less than 50%. So if birds get oil, there's a good chance that they will die. Oysters, obviously a very sensitive habitat. The oil can eventually sink and therefore be on the oyster bed.
The potential is catastrophic. This thing, if they don't get a handle on it and it continues to spew tens of thousands of gallons of product a day and the winds push it inland, we could have some real challenges in the fishing community.
Well, shrimp season opens in Louisiana in less than a month, but state officials fear the spill will delay the season and impact this year's catch. Meanwhile, Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Henry Waxman, along with Bart Stupak, have sent letters to BP America and Transocean regarding this spill. The committee's investigating the adequacy of the company's risk management and emergency response plans for accidental oil and gas releases from their offshore deepwater drilling facilities like the Deepwater Horizon rig. The companies have until May 14th to comply. Several Democrats on the House Energy and Commerce Committee have a plan they say will make the U.S. clean technology industry more competitive. The bill from California's Doris Matsui is co-sponsored by Michigan's John Dingell and John Rush of Illinois. It would create a $15 million fund to assist clean energy technology manufacturing and exports. The money will pay to help clean tech firms find and navigate foreign markets and promote policies that will reduce production costs and spur new developments in the clean energy technology industry at home. Australia will officially not be placing a carbon tax on industrial companies, at least for now. Prime Minister Kevin Rudd announced a 2-year delay on legislative efforts to lower greenhouse gases until after national elections there. The government had proposed annual limits on the amount of carbon major polluters can emit. Those who exceed that limit could buy carbon trading permits, but that plan fell apart after the main opposition Liberal Party withdrew its support because a legally binding treaty to cut global emissions was not reached at the Copenhagen talks. Both the government and opposition have promised to cut Australia's greenhouse emissions by at least 5% below 2000 levels by 2020. Beating the U.S. to the punch, Germany's first offshore wind farm is up and generating energy. The Alpha Ventus has 12 wind turbines 28 miles off of the north coast of the country. 3 German utilities built this project with a price tag of $340 million. Data collected from more than 500 feet-tall turbines are expected to help green energy specialists improve technology and construction methods for future offshore projects. Environment Minister Norbert Röttgen said he expects the test field to push wide open the gate to the age of renewable energies. 25 offshore wind farms involving more than 1,650 turbines have been approved for construction in the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. Lisa Jackson has been making the night show rounds. Last night, she was on Comedy Central's Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Stewart asked Jackson for her take on Senator Graham's withdrawal of his support for the Senate climate bill.
Do you feel like Senator Graham is a big fat baby? A big, and would you like to say to him right now on the show, wham, Lindsey Graham?
No, listen, I think that, Senator Graham's looking at a changing political landscape, and I do think that at this point, it's in all of our interest to invite him back in and tell him how important his work will be to success ultimately on the bill.
Well, let's take a look now at some energy goings-on around the Beltway tomorrow. At 8 a.m., National Hydropower Association starts the last day of its annual conference. That's at the Capitol Hilton. At 9, the Brookings Institution holds an energy security event focusing on solar energy. And at 10, the Senate Subcommittee on Energy and Water Development holds a hearing to assess national energy policies and goals in the coming decades. That's the Energy Report. We'll see you tomorrow with your latest energy news. For any suggestions or comments about our programming here on Clean Skies News, we want to hear from you. You can reach us at contact@cleanskies.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook, too. From all of us here in the Energy News Center, good night.